Hey. Sorry guys, I was a bit delayed. I do apologize. I was just coming from somewhere, so just came back. So we're gonna crack on in a couple minutes. We're gonna crack on. Please bear with me. We're gonna crack on in a couple minutes. Yeah. Today I want to address two questions that were asked to me by a few people. And I wanted to really just sort of give you my insights as what would I do in these situations, so that's what I want to talk about. So yeah, we're just going to crack on. We're just going to crack on, and the rest of the people will catch up with us as we go along. But also this is recorded, so you can play back as many times as possible. You can share this as much as you want. My name is Danny, Danstan Mugara. I'm CEO of several companies, but really what I do is I do work that allows me to impact people's lives. So I want to welcome you all. I've seen Anthony, I've seen Dan, I've seen Joe, I've seen Alex. Yeah, so thanks guys for coming on. Thanks a lot. We're gonna have some fun. I'm going to keep it punchy to the point, but I want to address a couple of things. So two questions that were asked of me through Lose Your Mind, where a bunch of people have been contacting me. Last week the questions were too many. I'm sorry. There were so many questions. I mean, over 100 questions, people saying, how do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do that? I hasten to say, I'm not an expert. But I'm also not going to deny the fact that I am experienced in life. I've spent many years dealing with all types of different people, different parts of the world. I have lived in some of the most difficult places. I've lived in some of the most amazing places. I've traveled in some of the most bizarre countries, and I've traveled to some exotic places, incredible places rather. So I have a vast knowledge of just dealing with people, working with people. All my companies are related to working with people. So I honed my direct sales skills many years ago in the UK, and I've traveled the world. I've used it in so many different countries around the world. So now my focus is on Lose Your Mind. I want to develop, or train and develop a bunch of guys, that will actually take us to the next level. I believe Africa is not the next frontier. It is the frontier. Right now, the scramble is for Africa. So people are headed here. So we need thought leadership. We need change makers. We need steadfastness of thought. We need people who are, really avid thinkers, and then of course you don't just think, you think and act. So I have a philosophy that says you have to adjust in this sort of a knowledge-based, knowledge-driven economy that we live in, technology-driven, knowledge-based economies. You need to adjust, you need to adapt, and then you need to act. So that's really what we're all about. So Lose Your Mind is about you losing your mind, because there's a lot of things that you are told when you're younger or going through different companies. Some of you have lots and lots of experiences in different places you've worked. You've met so many different people, and they've told you certain things, and unfortunately those things have led you to believe that life is in a certain way. Hey Daro, how you doing? Tyra, how you doing? Zion, how you doing? Mr. Jemba, how you doing? Thanks for showing up. I want to touch on these things, and really it's not really being different for the sake of being different. It's not really being controversial for the sake of being controversial. It's not trying to appear unique. It's just to really undo and address some of the things that I believe are holding you back. So our limiting beliefs have a basis, so they have a foundation, they have a genesis, and they came from people that we tend to look up to. So you go, this is my relative that's a really big person in my family. Because they're older than you, because they've lived longer than you, in some instances they have a lot more experience than you tend to gravitate towards whatever they say. But unfortunately, when you look very closely there's a correlation between why perhaps they haven't achieved their goals and you know, why they would only flog that kind of information, because that's all they know. People who have achieved mediocre results can only teach you how to do the same. People who have achieved huge results can only teach you how to do the same. People who have achieved very little to nothing, unfortunately, they're also very experienced and they have the expertise in teaching you that. So the two questions I'm addressing today are, how do you deal with emotional stress? That's the first question. Now, this question came up in so many versions. You know, I had people ask me, I'm overwhelmed, Danny, what do I do? I'm overwhelmed, you know, what do I do? I had, you know, people ask me, how do you deal with misalignment when you're feeling like you're not connected? You know, you feel, you know, I don't know why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. I feel different. I don't feel good, but why am I feeling the way I'm feeling, right? So you can't describe it. You don't understand why you're feeling how you're feeling, but you feel that way anyway, and you can't seem to jolt yourself or jerk yourself out of that situation. So the feeling of being overwhelmed can be a very, very damning experience. It can feel really bad. I don't know if you ever experienced stress in your life or you've ever experienced a feeling of being overwhelmed. Please put a yes in the box, in the comment box. Have you ever been stressed in your life? Have you ever been stressed? Now, unless you're not human, I dare you not to put a yes. If you've never been stressed, then you're perhaps not human. But if you're human, you've definitely been stressed. At some point in your life, you were like, man, you know, I don't know what's going on. The first thing is when things are not going your way, or you feel really, really disturbed and you feel almost hopeless, almost, you know, lost. Here's a really simple trick. These are some of the things that I do to kind of, you know, jolt myself or sort of, you know, just, you know, Danny, get up. You know, I don't do that stuff. I'm not going to tell you to jump up and chant songs and, you know, go, oh, yeah, I'm great. I'm the greatest. No, that stuff sometimes doesn't work. It doesn't work. So the first thing that, you know, I really often do when I feel overwhelmed is I stop. I stop everything. I stop absolutely everything. And sometimes you're in the middle of a conversation, you feel lost and overwhelmed and out of control. You start to say things that you don't even know why you're saying them. You feel you know, completely disconnected to what you're talking about. You don't quite understand what you're not coherent to yourself. So you hear yourself speak and you go, what am I doing? So whenever you have a feeling of overwhelmment, the best thing to do is stop. First of all, stop. Stop everything. Just switch off. Switch off. If you can stop everything and switch off, let me tell you, then you have to then start to take stock and say, what's going on? Now, one of the worst things you can do, and this is, have you ever done this? Let me ask you a question, okay? Have you ever been feeling really bad and feeling really low, and then you ask yourself this question, what's wrong? How many of you have done that? Just put a 1 in the box. If that's ever happened to you, you're feeling a bit down and you're going, man, I don't know what's going on. And then you go, what's wrong? Has that ever happened to you? If it's happened to you, put a 1 in the box. And believe me, you're not going to be alone, because it's happened to almost everyone. So that the natural place you sort of, you know, go back to is to say, what's wrong? What's wrong? I wonder what's wrong with me. What's going on? I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's wrong with me, right? Now, unfortunately, that is one of the worst things you can do. That is one of the worst things you can do. Whenever you feel overwhelmed and stressed, the last thing you want to put in your head is ask yourself what's wrong. Because the minute you say what's wrong, the world will assemble everything that's wrong and it will present it to you. Everything. So the minute you say, what's wrong? The world says, your wish is my command. It's like a genie. It says, oh, do you want to know what's wrong? You go, yes, I want to know what's wrong. It goes, no problem. The list is coming right up. So you get a list. And the list says, you know, this is wrong. And then the neighbors start to hear that there's someone who's attracted to things that are wrong. So they go, oh, I have some too. Let me take them to this person, right? So all of a sudden, you start to say, I don't know why everything is falling apart around me. The worst thing you can do is build on what's wrong and ask yourself those questions, because when you ask yourself that question, what happens is the brain has to respond immediately. The brain goes into work. It may not show up straight away, but you know, you leave your house, you're stressed. You're stressed, you scream at everybody, you leave your house, you bang the door, and you hear right behind you that one of the bulbs just jumps out of the socket or whatever, wherever it's hanging, and bang, it hits the floor, and you go, what is that? And you get even more frustrated. You get in your car, you try and start the car is not starting, you go, are you serious? Like my car is not even working, and then the car doesn't work, and then you go, okay, great. So you call a cab, the guy gets out of the gate, says, actually, it's not you I was supposed to, and you go, no. What's really going on? So this is something that you need to understand, and you can understand it on a spiritual level. You can understand it from a scientific level. You can understand it from a metaphysics, level. But whatever is likened is drawn. Whatever is likened is drawn. So, things will be drawn. We magnetize the things we actually most pronounce in our lives. So the things you speak of, the things that are most dominant in your thoughts, in your speech, in your actions, translate into what actually manifests to be you, your life, the picture that we see of the person that you are. So whenever you actually have a stressful situation, the very best thing to do is not to continue. Just stop, end the conversation, and say, or stop whatever you're doing, whatever you're pursuing. Just stop and say, you know what? I need to understand what's going on. So one of the things you can do is, humans, we have what we call internal conversation, and then we have external conversations. And they're voices that come in from entities that are external to you. You know, people, sounds that you hear, things you watch on television, things you listen to on the radio. They're things that actually come from external forces. And then you've got things that come from within you. So you're kind of like, thinking of stuff, and then you start to project that stuff. So here's how you actually control this situation. The first thing is, don't fight. Don't fight yourself. Don't start beating up yourself, because I asked a question earlier, who's ever been stressed? And those of you who are really honest with yourself, you all said yes, okay? And thank you very much for responding to that. There is not a human being that's on earth that has never been stressed. It's really, it's a part of who we are. We feel out of control. We feel out of alignment. So therefore, you feel a feeling of overwhelmment. You're so overwhelmed, and you go, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. The first thing you have to learn to do is, after you stop, change your language. Ask yourself these questions. Instead of saying, I don't know what's wrong, say, I would like to know how I'd like to feel. Sounds very, very stupid, and it sounds very kiddish when you hear me say that the first time. You go, Danny, are you serious? Yes, I am serious, yeah? I'd like to know how I'd like to feel. You can't say that to yourself without smiling, without sounding stupid, without sounding like, what is wrong with me? Like, I'm a grown up. And sometimes the biggest problem we have is we're too grown up. We go, I'm a grown up, so grown ups, don't feel the stress, I want to try and control everything. No, there's nothing to control, there's nothing to conquer. That's my thing, that's my philosophy. I don't think there's anything I need to control, there's nothing to conquer out there. So hey, guess what? I live an effortless life. When I say effortless life, I try and not really put too much power into or emphasis into external voices or some of the things that happen around me, the sound bites that you hear from people. So the first thing is, instead of saying what's wrong, you ask yourself, how would I like to feel? That's number one. Number two, if there's something that's disturbing that you don't know how to do, the best thing you can do is, I'd like to know how to do this. Instead of, I don't know how to do this. You say, I would like to know how to do this better, or I'd like to know how to do this. Now, every time you say something, you're placing an order. If you think of your life as being in a restaurant and you have a waiter or waitress standing next to you, when they say to you, what would you like to eat? If you don't say anything, they probably can't bring anything. They go, that person is not speaking, so we don't know how to serve them, right? But if you say, I don't know what the worst food you have is, I'm not sure what I want to eat, but you know, whatever you do, don't serve me your worst food. Here's a funny thing. Here's a funny thing. And you may not understand it right now, but this is the truth. I don't care how good the food is that they bring to your table. You're going to find something to complain about. You're going to find that food aligned in sync with your perception of, I don't want them to bring me bad food. It's happened to you. You've gone to a restaurant, you said, the last time I was here, the coffee they gave me was really cold and it wasn't great. So they go and say, okay, let me bring you coffee. So you order the coffee, they bring it, you drink it, you go, man, it's the same thing. You know, I'm expecting to get a better version of the coffee that I got last time, and I'm looking forward to it. I think they must have improved. The funny thing is, when you taste that coffee, it tastes better. It tastes the right temperature. It feels better in your mouth, right? So you take those simple analogies and you put it into something big. You're running a business, things are not going your way, you're stressed. You have a social situation, things are not going your way, you're stressed. You have an argument, disagreement with somebody that you actually care about, you know, things are not going great. So what happens is you start saying, I don't know what I did wrong. I don't know how I can, you know, change the situation. I'm really stressed. I'm so frustrated. I am so overwhelmed. As you say those things, the universe has to obey and say, oh, you're stressed, no problem. Let me bring you some more. Instead of saying, I am so stressed, and it sounds like you're lying to yourself. And here's the thing, sometimes you have to lie your way to success. Sometimes you have to say, I want to feel great, and you have a bucket of tears flowing through your eye. Flowing through your eye. You're going, man, but if you keep emphasizing, I'm in so much pain. I am so angry. I can't believe this has happened to me. I feel so low. When you start doing those things, what happens is that you start to create that energy within yourself. So you start to feel lower and lower and lower and lower. And you go, I'm depressed. Change your language. Instead of I'm depressed, guess what? I'm just figuring out how to feel better about what's going on right now. Okay, I ask myself questions like, what's good about this? Okay, what am I drawing from this? Yeah, don't ask yourself questions like, why is this happening to me? I can't believe it. Why do things like this keep happening to me? Because unfortunately, and please don't feel offended. This is not personal, right? Unfortunately, you're the inviter. When you keep saying things like this keep happening to me, it's because they have an audience with you all the time. You see, the things we like to do, the things we attract in our lives, they don't come by accident. They come by invitation. So whenever you pronounce the word stress 20 times in an hour, 50 times in an hour, it's a law. It's a law of life, You have to get more stress. But if you change the word stress from stress to, I want to feel better. I'm trying to figure out a way to feel better. I'm working on feeling better. I'm looking for ways to improve my energy. I'm looking for ways to improve my attitude. I'm looking for ways to, cultivate more happiness in my life. I'm looking for ways to learn how to do this better. When you start telling yourself, I'm such a failure. I meet people because I'm in direct sales. So I meet people, I go, so what do you think you can do here? They go, Daddy, I'm not a salesperson. Like I can never do sales. That's just me. That's who I am. And I go, who told you that? They go, no, I know myself, Danny. And I go, you're right. You would definitely fail in this industry because you came in committed to tell me that unless it's something else, you can't do it because I know I'm not cut out for that. Well, if you say that, unfortunately, that gets stumped into your head. The brain takes the information, sends it to the rest of the body. Your nervous system starts to react, and then you start to do actions, or you start to perform things that are consistent with a person who is incapable of doing that task. Are you getting this? Do you get this? Or who is stressed? Who is stressed from this? Hearing this message? Some of you are kind of going, "Oh, Daddy, you're stressing me now." Do you get this? Do you get this? This is really important, yeah? The first thing you do, stop. Second thing is change your language. Change your language, and the easiest way to change your language is interrupt your thoughts. Interrupt your thoughts, and look for things like music, meditation. You can even say a prayer. Sometimes when you're really stressed, it's even hard to pray. You start praying and you feel like you're just speaking to yourself. And you probably are speaking to yourself. But here's a beautiful thing. If you change your language, therefore your command, if you change your command, the commands or the orders you place, if you order, give me the most succulent, the most tasty, the most delicious steak that you have in this restaurant, the chef is motivated. They said, there's a lady over there, she wants the most succulent, the most delicious, the best marinated steak that we have in this place. She's so excited, she can't wait. Guess what? All of a sudden, you synchronize the chef's excitement, your taste buds, your expectations, your hormones are charging, they're going, whoa, you have these feelings of goodness. And then guess what? When the food arrives, it is the best steak. And somebody's having the same food, but because they have a bad attitude and they're stressed, they're going, this food is not great. You go, what? You should taste mine. They taste yours, they go, but it's the same. You go, I don't know, I love mine. I love mine. So really, we actually we manufacture most of the stress and the overwhelmment that we actually express in our lives on a daily basis. The quickest way to avoid those pitfalls is to, change your language by changing your thoughts. And you can change your language by, instead of saying, I don't know how to deal with that one, I'm trying to figure out how to deal with that one. I'm learning a better way. Instead of saying, I don't know, I'm always late, I'm always too slow, I'm always that person nobody likes, this is kind of my life, I've always been like this. You just have to say, I'm starting to find ways to connect better with people. People are starting to be more receptive to me. And when you start doing that, guess what? The sound, the placement, or the order you placed was, I am actually ready to receive goodness in my life. So stress has to come because we're human. It will come. There are things that will disturb you. Stress will make you feel like you're inadequate. It will make you feel like you're unattractive. It will make you feel like you're not good. It will make you feel like, you're a terrible person. Those are the thoughts you get. But the best way to deal with it is change your conversation. Change your internal conversation. When you change your internal conversation, you start to hear different external conversations. Your external conversations will change as your internal conversation changes. If your internal conversation is sending out vibes of negativity, your external conversation has to deflect that back. So whatever you push out from within in terms of conversation is what you deflect back in terms of conversation. So when you start going around saying, I'm so stressed, I'm so overwhelmed, man. People look at you, they go, yeah, what's wrong, man? You go, no, I don't know, man. I have no idea. I don't know. I've done everything. I've tried everything. Nothing seems to work, and it would never work. Now, let me ask you a question. How can I help you if you're saying to me, there's nothing anyone can say to me that will change my mind? So you're saying to me, you're totally committed to being hopeless. But you're saying to me, what do you think? I don't think. I can't help you because you've made a decision. But if you change your internal conversation, I'd like to understand how you deal with this situation, Danny. I'm going through this situation. This has happened to me. I'm really, really confused how I could deal with it. What I'd like to do is change that. What would you say would be the best way to approach this situation? And very often, if you ask someone like me, the answer is, to be honest, I have no idea. But what I know is based on my experience, or, one of my friends went through a similar situation, and this is what happened. So I can give you references. I can tell you, perhaps based on my experience, what happened to me, but I'm not going to offer you answers. I'm not going to say to you, this is a definite truth. Because the thing that you have to understand, and oh man, if you're part of the Lose Your Mind, the tribe, there's one thing I want you to understand. And if you take nothing from this recording today, remember this. There is absolutely nothing absolute in this world. If people say to you, I have an answer that's perfect for your situation, this is the absolute truth. This is the only way you can do this. Let me tell you something. Man, I wish I learned that when I was 10 years old. No. And you're trying to get, a round thing to fit into this square peg. And you're going, it has to fit. And you're stretching the sides and you're trying, it's round. Do you understand? You're trying to fit a square into a round hole. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So I know that, nothing is absolute. Nothing is absolute. Everything will change. Everything will change based on perception, personal preferences, based on application, based on circumstances around you, based on, what you've been attracting into your life. Because as quickly as it comes, it actually may not go as quickly as you want it to go. You see, it's so much easier to be stressed. It's a little bit harder to actually, push away the stress. Now, one of the key things to understanding this, and I've said a few things, but I want to really make sure that you have a structure of what I'm saying. This is really important. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, stop. Stop. If you're sitting at home and your kids are running around you and you're working and you're so busy and you're so focused, you have a project, stop. Stop. Attend to the kids, give them attention, play with them for 5 minutes, and then disengage from that situation. But the worst thing you can do, and you guys know this, the worst thing you can do is fight the kids. Start saying to the kids, oh, why don't you keep quiet? What's going on? Sometimes you're doing stuff, some of you have dogs. And you're doing something and you're on a conference call and the dog is barking in the back. You go, can you shut that dog up? It's a dog, dude. You can't shut the dog up. So as you go, I can't believe it. You start to hear more. It's amplified because you're focusing on it. So we tend to gravitate towards the most dominant thoughts. We tend to gravitate towards our most dominant things that we speak of. Things that we actually attribute to be truth in our lives. So I want you to maybe learn how to change the word stress to, I'm learning how to feel better about this. And ask yourself, childish questions that are, how do I want to feel? What am I learning from this? What's good about this situation? What would be the best way to approach this situation? What would be the other option? I mean, this is not working for me. What else can I do to actually maybe see if I can get better results? And it's amazing. And also, one of the things, and I mentioned it, you cannot be absolute, right? One of the things you have to do is, please remember this, yeah? Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. This stuff you tell yourself you're stressed about or whatever, man, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I'm telling you, it's not worth it, because a few months later, you look back and you go, what was I stressed about? I can't believe that person really upset me. And you look back, you're saying, how did I allow such a person to upset me? Some of you, you've been through relationships, friendships that you've sort of abandoned, and you go, that person used to make me do that? You're like, wow, how did I allow myself to do that? So nothing is absolute. You can't say, if I don't deal with this person, if I don't do this, if I don't be with this person, my life is ruined. No, come on. Be flexible about certain things. There's ways to actually handle things. And here's my point when it comes to dealing with these types of situations. Be kind to yourself. Be really kind to yourself. Why are you stressed and you can't actually stress somebody else the way you stress? This is what's funny. We're so stressed when you sit alone and you're going like this, you go, I can't believe it, life is so bad. And then somebody comes in to see you and you go, who's that? Bob is here. You go, Bob, how you doing? Good to see you, Bob. Yeah, great, guys. Bring me a cup of coffee, Bob. What do you want to do? You want to grab coffee? And you talk, what do you want to do? Let's go watch a movie or whatever. And then, you're so excited. And you're putting on a better attitude because of Bob. Now, are you telling me that you're so concerned about being kind to Bob, being precious about how Bob may feel about you, and you can't do that for yourself? No. Be kind to yourself. When you're kind to yourself, listen, man, when you're kind to yourself, the stress levels will drop. Don't do things to yourself that you would not do to other people. It's dangerous, man. Don't do that. In the good books, in the Bible, I believe in a lot of the big, powerful religious books, it says, love your neighbor like you love yourself. At least I know that to be specific in the Bible. It's one of the commandments, yeah? You should love your neighbor like you love yourself. Now, if you don't love yourself, you cannot love your neighbor. If you hate yourself, you hate your neighbor like you hate yourself. So therefore, what I'm saying, and I finish with this question saying, the conversation, your internal conversation will attract the external conversations that are exactly the mirror image of what you actually have in your head. Your internal conversation will be replicated by the people around you. The sound bites you hear are the things you actually choose to hear. This is the most beautiful thing. Man, when God made us, man, we have filters in our ears. You could sit in a room right now and think there's no sound at all. But if you tune in, you start to hear birds. You go, those are birds. You start to hear something doing that. You start to hear yourself breathe. Because you're tuned in. If you tune out, guess what? You stop hearing those things. So it's the same thing. When you tune out of stress mode, you actually start to get really excited. You start to say, I'm looking forward to a better day. I'm looking forward to things happening. I'm so excited about tomorrow. I'm so glad that, I managed to go through this. And, gratitude is one of the biggest killers of stress. Gratitude will just knock stress out, flat out. If you're overwhelmed, look for gratitude. If you're feeling low, look for gratitude. Even if you feel like, I don't know what's going on, I don't know why it's happening to me, look for gratitude. A friend of mine just came to see me today, and and I hugged him, and I was devastated because I love this guy. I really love this guy. He's my architect, and he came to do some stuff, but he's been in hospital. He had a condition. I'm not going to go into it because it's very personal. But it's something that was very big that could have taken him out. And I know this guy. This guy's full of life. And I go, man, sometimes, and I say to him, dude, please don't stress. Like, stop stressing. This stuff of chasing the world and doing all this kind of stuff, if you're going to be rich at the expense of your health, then you perhaps need to find something else to do that can make you rich. That's not going to really take, wealth should not be a replacement for health. Wealth can never be a replacement for health. It's impossible. Health is a prerequisite, or in fact, it's a requirement, if you like, for you to be wealthy. You cannot be wealthy unless you're healthy. So stress is one of the things that causes things like heart disease. Stress will cause things like, blood clots. It's very, very dangerous. It's a really dangerous illness. In fact, if you look back in African history, our forefathers, if you go in most languages in Africa, they don't have the word stress. If you say, how do you say stress in your language? They go, I don't know. Stress. In some languages, like in Kinyarwanda, people say, "Uran stressa." It's like, you're stressing me. I don't know what they say in Swahili, stress, whatever. I don't know. I don't know. So you hear people, local people in the village now are starting to hear the word stress. They go, I have stress. And you go, what does that mean? They go, I don't know, I feel stress. So if you change the language, you change the action, you change everything around you. The last question was problem solving. Somebody asked me a question. They say, hold on. I don't know if you're enjoying this, because if you're enjoying this, you got to put 100. Like if you're learning, because again, I told you, Lose Your Mind is not about motivation. You may get motivated by being educated, but I would love to really impart some education to share with you some of the things that I've gone through in my life. So if you're excited, Zion, thank you very much. If you're excited, just hit me with like 100%, whatever. Even if you're not excited, just hit me with 100% in the comments box. Anyway, I'm just playing. But listen, this stuff is really important to me. I'm so looking forward to have some of you, employ some of these techniques, and if it works for you, I'm grateful. I'm so grateful. The messages I'm getting in my inbox, man, they just encourage me to keep doing this stuff, because a lot of people are growing out of this stuff. They're growing out of this stuff. They're changing their minds. They're losing their minds. They're gaining new ones. So that's really good. The last question was about, somebody asked me a question about problem solving, right? Usually when you look at problems, most problems are not the problem. The problem is usually not the problem. What you look at and you label that to be a problem is usually a symptom of the problem. So what we train to do is, you hear again the sound bites. Yeah, you hear people saying, man, she has so many problems. Now, when you hear that statement, you start to imagine this person who's a person, littered with so many problems. But really, usually the problem is not the problem. So the question I ask you, is the problem the problem? Do you have a headache and call a headache a problem when it really isn't a problem? Because a headache is usually a symptom. So you take paracetamol or you take any kind of medication for headache tablets, and then you think the problem is gone. But you haven't treated the problem. You actually you've stifled, or you've if you like, for lack of a better word, you've managed to get rid of the pain that's caused by the symptoms. So we tend to treat the rash, not the blood. But the rash is coming from the blood. Do you understand? So the first question I always ask when people say, I have a lot of problems, I go, okay, why is that? Now, when you go to the doctor, you say, hey doc, how you doing? Listen, I have a headache. They don't go, yeah, no problem, just fine. Go to the pharmacist, they'll give you some painkillers. Next. That's not what the doctor does. They start to do a diagnosis. They start to do a prognosis. They start to say, why do you have a headache? You go, I don't know. How long have you had a headache for? A few weeks. Okay, so you had a headache for 2 weeks. Okay, great. Is it a throbbing headache? Is it a crushing headache? Do you feel, is it one-sided? Is it over your head? How you feel? Do you have nausea? You go, no, I don't have nausea, but it's like, yeah, it's a really dense feeling in my head and it won't go. Okay, great. So they go, right, so is there anything you're doing that you haven't been doing before? And then, they start asking you these questions. What the doctor is trying to do is saying, thank you for telling me the symptoms, because they will say to you, what symptoms do you have? Do you have a fever? Symptom. Do you have any aches and pains? Symptom. Have you got a headache? Symptom. Do you understand? Have you got nausea? Are you sleeping well? Do you feel tired all the time? Yeah, I'm so sleepy all the time. I don't know what's wrong. Those are symptoms. Imagine going to the doctor and saying, all of a sudden I have no energy. I'm so tired all the time. And the doctor says, no problem. He goes, nurse, you go, yes, bring me some coffee. We have a tired one over here. They give you coffee. They say, this one is tired. They give you coffee. You walk out with caffeine and you go, yeah, great. That's not the problem. Caffeine is not going to fix your problem. You understand? So a lot of the times what we do is we don't really drill down to the bottom of the issue. So again, my advice, and this is what I do, again, if it works for you, fantastic. I'm not being prescriptive. I'm just sort of, sharing with you guys. One of the things that I do in terms of problems is when somebody hits you with a problem, there's a couple of things I do. Like, I don't like phone calls. I hate phone calls because phone calls in most cases, they waste a lot of your time. And people who know me very well, I don't really take phone calls, yeah? So somebody calls you, hey, how you doing? You go, great. How's your day? You go, great. How's your family? Great. So what are you up to? I'm working. Okay, what are you going to do after? You go, my gosh. 10 minutes later, they go, yeah, so the reason I was calling you is, I just wanted to know if you want to hang up. And you go, wow, dude, like you took 10 minutes of my time. There's a reason they call it short messaging service, SMS. If I want to have a conversation with somebody, we want to talk, and we can talk for hours on the phone. It's not a problem. We're just hanging out. We're virtually communicating, and it's fun, and we can talk a lot of nothing, much ado about nothing. But guess what? If it's work, if it's time to be constructive and do stuff that's really, really constructive, just be really precious about your time. And I'm digressing a little bit on that one, but sometimes when you have a problem, when somebody presents you a problem, this is what I'm saying, I was referring to a phone call. Don't jump to, this is the answer. This is how we're going to fix it. Sometimes people will call me and they say, hey, Danny, hey, how you doing? I go, great. I go, who is this? I go, this is Joe. I go, Joe. I go, can you call me back in 5? So he goes, no problem. So I hang up the phone. So I go talk to people who know Joe, and I go, why is Joe calling me? They go, oh, he actually said that, he was trying to do this. He wants you to help him with this or whatever. So by the time Joe calls me back, I already have an idea what he's going to talk to me about. The first responsibility that I have is to protect myself from creating new problems. So if Joe comes in with a problem that had nothing to do with me, what I want to do is I want to say, Joe, I've heard what you're saying. Can I come back to you? Man, that sounds really simple, but it's so important. Never ever try and solve a problem the minute you're presented with the problem, because most of the time we're just reactive. The best way to handle a problem is, first of all, stop. If it's a phone call, hey, listen, that's okay. Let me come back to you. They go, okay, when are you going to come back to me? You go, give me an hour. If I don't call you back in an hour, then I need a little bit more time. And they go, okay. Right? That's it. So by the time we're ready to talk about the problem, I already know that whether it's a problem or whether it's a symptom of something bigger than that or something smaller than that. Sometimes the headache is bigger than the problem. The headache is bigger than the problem. You may get a bigger headache. I'm telling you, sometimes you've slept in the wrong position and the pain is in the head. And all you have to do is turn and twist and stretch a little bit, and then the body's released, and then you're like, oh, and my headache is gone. So sometimes the problem is smaller than the symptom. Sometimes, in most cases, the problem is bigger than the symptom. So we tend to spend a lot of our time focused on the symptom. So understand how to deal with this. So simple formula, again, I'll say that again. Hi, Danny, there's this problem. I have this problem. The first question I ask them is why. They go, listen, I'm not selling, I haven't sold anything for the last 2 weeks. I go, why is that? They go, Danny, it's, I'm doing everything I can. I'm doing everything I can. I've talked to a lot of customers, and, I don't know what to do. I'm really confused. I hate my situation. So guess what? The next question is why? No, I hate it because, like I'm that kind of guy that's supposed to be selling and, customers usually love me and, for some reason, nobody's really wanting to talk to me. Nobody picks my calls. Why? And if you keep drilling with a why like a 5-year-old does, guess what happens? You are drilling and drilling. They go, well, to be honest with you, I changed my pitch a little bit. There's a way I used to do it, but I don't do that anymore. I started doing that. Why? I don't know. I just wanted to do something different. Why? They go, I just got bored, like with the last pitch. So I just thought if I change it a little bit, maybe I get more customers. Why? You know what, Danny? Maybe I should go back to my old pitch. I go, okay, wait, try that and let's see what happens. Thank you. Guess what? The problem is not that they weren't selling. The problem was that the customers didn't want to talk to them. The problem is that the customers do not even think of them as people they dislike or like. They don't even think about you. But you've branded yourself as the customers don't like me. This is just an example. It could be in any industry. But as I drilled down to why, I found that the guy changed his approach. Therefore, he abandoned the approach that was giving them the results they were getting, and they acquired this new one because they were bored. Are you bored of making money? Are you bored of winning? Are you becoming desensitized, too familiar with the numbers that you're winning with? And you think, that's it, you've arrived? Is it perhaps because you're a small thinker? You don't want to have bigger things. You probably don't want to contribute to society more. You don't want to save, lives. You don't want to go out there and actually be a contributor to, perhaps people that don't have the information you have. Could that be the problem? Because 99% of what we present as problems, they're just symptoms. I'm not happy. Why? She was screaming at me. Why? I don't know. I just, every time I see her, she just screams at me. Why is that? And as you ask more whys, it's annoying. You drill down before you know. You go, because I did this thing and she didn't like it and she was so upset and that's why. Okay, right. So you know why. You know why. It's just that we're in denial. We're always looking for other people to give us excuses that tell us or validate why we think there's a problem. So rule number 1, never offer a solution. Always dig deeper and say, why is that? Why is that? As you dig deeper, it's amazing what you'll find out. Now, when you find out, again, my advice is always, do the same thing. I go, give me a few days, I'll come back to you and let's see what we can do. I never ever want to promise that I can fix you because I don't know if you can fix me. I don't think I can fix you, but I can give you some advice based on what I do. And if that fixes you or helps you with the problem, fantastic. So you cannot treat a symptom of malaria with malaria tablets. You cannot prescribe medicine for diabetes for a symptom of diabetes. You can't. You'll kill the patient. So what happens is a lot of the times our problems get bigger because we think they're the problem. We ask the wrong people who add fuel to the fire and they tell you, yeah, even, Mary was going through that. Peter almost lost his job because of that. It's a big problem. And really, it's not the problem. I hope you get this. Yeah? The other thing that I do in terms of problem solving is, so you've asked me and I've asked you why. You've asked me and I've said, let me come back to you because I need to think about it, okay? You've come to me with I have a problem, or I think something is happening, the business is not working as well as it should be or whatever. Stop. Just stop. Take a break and, walk away and, analyze the situation the right way by saying, okay, What do I want? Because I don't like what I'm getting, because a lot of the times you know what you're getting. And if you're getting what you don't want, this is not the time to go, let me see what the problem is. And because when you say, I want to know where we're going wrong, listen, man, it comes up. It's a lot. But when you say, I want to know how we can do better, it comes up and it's a lot. And you start to realize, man, this is easy to fix. This is easy to fix. The biggest problem sometimes within our problems is ourselves. Because we build up, this. We're not simple, we're complex. And I'm reminded of a story of, most of you have heard about this story. I'm not sure how true this is or where it happened in the world. But there's a bunch of people standing, near a bridge, and there's lots and lots of people standing near a bridge, and they're all looking on. So this truck had come and they had driven, going through, and it was carrying lots of goods, and it hits the bridge. So the top of the truck is stuck in the bridge. So there's a low bridge, a low hanging bridge on, as the driver was driving through, boom, he just grazed the top of the bridge, and he could not move. So the truck is stuck. So they're saying, look, if you move it, the bridge is going to collapse, and it could damage lots of things, but also it could hurt, a few people. The goods that are in the truck are going to be destroyed. There's nothing we can do. So the fire brigade has arrived, the police has arrived, everybody's all over the place saying, how do we do this? How do we do this? How do we do this? Right? They're so focused, they're in the problem. There's a problem. Problem is a truck. The problem is the bridge. And I'm sure that driver had been driving through that before, but something had changed. So they're looking at the problem of the stuck, trailer or truck that's under the bridge. So there was a kid in the audience as he came from school. He walked past. He said, what's going on? They go, just go home. You're not supposed to be here. It's dangerous. The fire brigade have cordoned off the area. They're saying this is really big. So this kid is like, what's the problem? What happened? He said, he's looking. They say, yeah, this truck is stuck under the bridge. Man, just go home. You're a small boy or whatever. He says, but it's nothing. There's no problem. And the guy's like, listen, man, just leave me. He said, no, but there's no problem. He says, why don't you just take the air out of the truck? The tires, just take the air out. It will go down. And then you just drive out. And the guy's like, huh? So now this is when big people become really intelligent. So these guys are, oh yeah. Actually, that sounds like a good idea. Yeah, let's try that. So lo and behold, the air goes down. Driver sits back in the truck, drives out. Everybody's happy. They were all too focused on the problem to understand the simplicity of what they had to do to get it fixed. So sometimes a solution is in your face, but because you're so focused on what's going wrong, you get more of it. A lot of the times, the problem is not the problem. The problem that's presented to you is actually a symptom disguising itself as the actual problem. Your lack of happiness is a symptom of something. Your lack of money is a symptom of something. If you don't save money, it's a symptom of something. If you don't like people, it's a symptom of something. If you're lazy, it's a symptom of something. So when you hear people say his problem is he's lazy, laziness is not the problem. It's a symptom of something. Because guess what? He's not motivated because what you're asking him to do is actually not something that inspires him at all. If we found out why he wants to do what he wants to do, you see this person that was always branded as lazy being the hardest working person. So when you work with people sometimes, it's easy to look at them as, oh, my team is so weak, my team is the problem. No, it's a symptom of the environment. The environment could be the problem. Like you have a very toxic environment in your office. You're not excited as a person who runs a business. You're not really training your people at all. You're just, demanding and instructing. You're not, tooling your people with the right resources, but you're demanding and instructing. So that kills morale. So then you go, my office is, full of people that just don't want to work. That's not the problem. That's a symptom. If you drill down and you ask yourself the same questions I was asking somebody earlier, you start to ask yourself, you say, my office, nobody wants to come to work. Why, Danny? I don't know, I've tried everything and, whatever, recently everybody's just not really interested in coming to work. But why, Danny? Why? And you keep asking yourself that question. Guess what? You get to the point where you go, man, I found out. I know what it is. There was an office that we were running in London, and I'll tell you a quick story, and then I'm going to finish. And this guy, we were in a recruitment business, so we're recruiting people to come and work with our office. And, we had lots of people come to the office. So what happened is one of my colleagues just had an altercation with one of the guards at the door downstairs. We had like an antique shop downstairs. So going into the antique shop, you then come upstairs and then, come into our offices. So people would come in and ask for, where is this company downstairs? And the guard would say, why are you going there? They say, I have an interview. I would never work, not even for £10,000 an hour. I would never work. They are terrible. They insult you. They never pay on time. The guy he destroyed the business for like a whole month. Nobody was coming. And you're like, what is going on? So we go, we have a problem with recruiting people. It wasn't the problem. The problem was somebody had upset the guard downstairs. So the guard decided that nobody comes in. He wasn't saying you can't go up there. He says you can go up there, at your peril. Like, that place is terrible. It's full of, egotistic people. They're abusive. They don't look after the people. They exploit you and use you and abuse you, and then that's it. So nobody wanted to work for us. So when we found out, one of the guys was talking to them. The guy's like, yeah, this guy did this to me. He said, I hate it. Even when I see people, I just tell them, don't try and go in that company. Ooh. So we found out we had to go be nice. Be nice to the guard and say, hey, how you doing? What's going on? Come on, let's have coffee. Come upstairs. He became our friend. A flood of people started coming in. Oh, you're looking for Danny's office? He's right up there. What a great guy. What a great guy. Oh, tell them to give you that coffee that they have a great coffee. So the people coming upstairs going, whatever. You have a neighbor that runs a restaurant. You have a team of people that you normally take to that restaurant once in a while to have a meal, to hang out with them or whatever. You go hang out with people, you have a really good time. And then the next day, none of them come back to work. And you go, what's going on? We were at Romano's restaurant, we had dinner, the guys were excited, and now they didn't come back in. You take your investors, you go have dinner, you have lunch, and then, the investors call you and say, actually, we're not going to do the project. You go, what's going on? You're taking them to Romano's. But you're very abusive to their staff, everybody. So when you leave to go to the toilet, whenever you go to the toilet, they go, so what are you doing with that guy? You go, well, we are trying to do business with him. He goes, man, that guy, he's going to rip you off. I wouldn't do business with him. Anyway, none of my business. What else can I get you? That's it. That's the symptom, is that people keep leaving. Your staff, your investors, your potential partners, they can't stick around. Why is that? Because Romano's restaurant says, don't go back there. Don't work with him. So it's very important that you don't give too much credit to the immediate, if you like, interface or face of a problem. Look beneath the face of the problem and say, what could be this? Is this a symptom that I'm looking at, or is it a problem? And then if you don't have an answer, buy some time. Just say, look, let me come back to you. We'll fix that later. Do your research, do your investigations, find out what's going on, find out if it's actually the problem or it's a symptom. And then if you have nothing good to say, if you don't have anything to offer to fix the problem, one of the other medicines is silence. Just be silent. Just take it easy. Be silent, and that's it. And then when you're ready, you can speak. But it's very, very important. Some of you work in companies and they say, what's your opinion, Paul? And you go, I think my opinion is this. And they go, wow, we almost promoted this guy. Listen to what he's saying. He's part of the problem, not part of the solution. Sometimes, what's your opinion, guys? I don't have an opinion right now. I need to sleep on this. I need to come back to you with what my considerations are. All great CEOs, all great, business people do that. They buy time. They buy time. Don't rush into fixing things immediately, because very often we get them wrong. And the last part is seek advice. If you don't know, when in doubt, seek advice. But also be careful how you seek advice. Don't go to people and say, I have a problem. Just go, I want to ask you, I have a scenario that I'm trying to fix. I'm looking for a way to overcome this. If you're in my position, what would you do? They go, oh, great. But if you're going to come to me and dump on me all your problems and tell me how devastated you are, one, I'm not a shrink. I'm not trained for that. Two, you're not paying me to ask me for advice. So guess what? I'm going to run out of that situation very quickly, because you're becoming a problem to me. You are dumping your bad energy on me. So you need to find advice, but also find a way to ask for advice. So that's it, guys. I just wanted to share those two questions with you. How to deal with the feeling of being overwhelmed and low and, stressed. I hope that helps somebody. Again, there's no absolute answers. That's just my way of dealing with things. And then, of course, problem solving. I didn't want to talk about it in a commercial sense. Just really act like a business person or a CEO. That's what they do. They often look at the symptoms. They then drill down. Once they get to know the problem, they start working with, what can we put in place? And then the weirdest thing is, when you fix the problem, the symptoms disappear. People are happy, they're hardworking, sales are coming in, things are happening, customers are flowing in, just simple stuff, So just focus on those things, regroup and sit down and think and have a conversation with yourself before you jump into, offering advice on how to fix things. And then, of course, practice a high degree of resistance. Don't be persuaded or tempted to just give any odd answers. Just make sure that it's well thought out and it's relevant to the question or the problem or the symptom. And then, of course, seek advice. Find out who is able to help you. So this is Lose Your Mind with the Tribe. Hopefully this helps you. This is actually an impromptu one, because a lot of you have asked me, Daddy, don't miss it. Don't miss a week. I almost missed this week again because I had so many things going on. Our businesses are going crazy. We're doing really well. It's like, you guys have blessed me. God has actually blessed me with so much. There's a lot of greatness going on. There's so many great things happening. And I want to thank you for your prayers. I want to thank you for, being really interested in, learning and working with us as a group. And who knows, my future partners, my future mentors, my future colleagues, my future friends are on this call right now, are listening to this, but, lose your mind. We're a tribe of thought leaders, hungry, driven. We want to really change our ways to change our world. And we can only do that by replenishing the mind and just, renewing the mind, refreshing the mind, and listening to a new way of doing things. God bless you. Thank you very much. This is Danny. I'm out. I'll catch you another time. Next week. Be there. Lose your mind.